So today I'm going to do a quick update on apple scab, powdery mildew, and brown rot. We're sort of looking at all of those right now. I'm not going to go through a full rundown of NUA. We did that last time around. But if you want to take a look at that, you can actually go to the UMass Extension Fruit Team's YouTube channel where each of our talks from last time are posted up there, so you can look at all of that stuff. And Lindsay, if you could pop that link in there. Thank you. So let's see, here we are. We've got our newest screen here for Belchertown. We've got our green tip date adjusted to the proper green tip date here. We have, yesterday we had a little break in between rain, which was really nice. We finally got to have some sunny weather. What that also meant was a break in between rain events. So we're in the process of one right now. NUA is estimating that tomorrow there's going to be about 11% ascospore discharge. And I haven't found anything anywhere that tells us what the yellow means in that. But my assumption is that means that it's a moderate infection event, yellow being sort of in between. And then over here, you see that we've got, today we're at about 31% ascospore maturity according to NUA. From what I'm seeing, I can't tell you what the percentage is yet until I have seen all of the spore, but we are definitely not halfway through the season yet. We've got more spores coming and more big infection events coming our way. All right, so I do like to take a look at RimPro. It does a nice job of kind of giving you all of the information that NUA also gives you, but in just one snapshot here. So just a quick reminder on this, down at the bottom, we've got our leaf wetness and our rain. And then above that, we've got our ascospore maturity bank here. And so we are at about 37% maturity according to RimPro. But here, the thing that's interesting to me is that, again, we're in the midst of this big infection event here. RimPro is saying that this is an extreme infection event for Belchertown rather than the presumably moderate event that NUA was estimating. Okay, so moving on to powdery mildew. So powdery mildew is different from scab in that it overwinters as mycelium, and that's on those dormant buds. So this time of year, that mycelium is starting to wake up and start growing again, and it's causing these what we're calling primary infections. And then from those infections, their conidia develop. Those are dispersed to new tissue into the fruit, and that's where we get the issue with the russeting on the fruit, which you can see here in this little graphic picture here. So those infections, of course, create more spore. They land, they create infections, and then come the end of the season, anything that was infected, those mycelium go into the buds, and they wait again for the next year to come. There's a number of different varieties that are susceptible or not susceptible. Unfortunately, as you can see here, some of the ones that we have a significant number of in the ground, Cortlands, Empires, Macintoshes, are susceptible to powdery mildew. Good news is some of the other stuff that we also have a lot of in the ground, Fuji, Gala, Zestar, is resistant. So in terms of what we're dealing with for upcoming potential infection risk, obviously right now we're in the midst of a bit of an infection event for apple scab. We also have powdery mildew coming up. So one thing I didn't mention before, powdery mildew does not actually require moisture like rain to infect. A 70 degrees or 70% relative humidity is sufficient to allow those spore to germinate. And this is a condition that you really readily find on the underside of those young leaves. It's real humid in there. And so the temperature range here for the next couple of days is going to be pretty optimum for new infections of powdery mildew. So that's something that you might want to take a look at if you have had powdery mildew in your orchard in the past. We also have a slight chance for a scab infection event potentially coming up towards the end of the weekend, but at this point, it's far enough out that the forecast is likely to change between now and then. So as always, keep your eyes on the skies. Okay, let's see, moving on to brown rot. Oh, actually, you know what? I did want to say something. So Jaime mentioned something that I did not know before, that this Magister, he mentioned that as a miticide. And so I took a look at it because he did also say that it was effective against powdery mildew. That's the only disease that is on that Magister label, is just powdery mildew. Okay, so moving on to brown rot. Obviously, we're going from pome to stone fruit. Brown rot overwinters on the mummies and in cankers on the trees from last year's infections. Right now, those infections have the potential to be sporulating and dispersing spore into our blossoms, and that's where they cause our next infections. Those infections in blossoms will then go into shoots, potentially cause shoot cankers, and those cankers and blighted blossoms will then cause new infections when your fruit's starting to ripen later on. So like I said, here's where we are right now. We've got these mummies, which should be getting removed, and they're sporulating and causing these infections over here. And then again, later on, we'll get these last infections. So really, really, we need to focus right now on stopping these infections from occurring in the first place. Okay, so we've got a couple things going on here. Right now, we've got the potential for infection, but it's cool enough that it's not going to be moving fast. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means that it's going to be moving slowly. So you've got some room to stop that infection from developing further. But come tomorrow, the temperature is going to go up again. Those infections are going to pick up their speed, and you're going to need to be more on top of that if that has been an issue in the past. So with brown rot, sanitation is just a function of getting rid of the spore. Cut it out. Remove the mummies, get them out of the orchard as best you can. For apple scab, it's still not too late to get in that orchard and chop leaves and reduce the inoculum to the best of your ability, especially if you have high inoculum blocks that you're trying to manage. Urea, the reason I have a question mark there is I did notice that John had put in healthy fruit that if your leaves are looking peaked, you can make a urea application to try and help them out. But I'm not aware of that particular application having any ability to help break down the leaves where the spores are waiting to eject. All right, so because we do have 3 things coming at us at one time, I tried to put together a couple of materials that would cover everything. There wasn't much, and because the rates differ, I didn't even put in the rates, but obviously Captan for both brown rot and scab. Mancozeb is only going to be for scab. Rally is a frac 3. Inspire Super is a 3 and 9, and Maravon is a 7 and 11. So you got to make sure that you're rotating these, because monolinea especially can develop resistance to fungicide applications. All right, that's it.